The following is a call with Rishma Govani from Global News on September 21st, 2018.
Rishma speaking.
Oh, good afternoon, Rishma. This is Renée calling. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
I continue, thank you. Are you aware that I'm a mayoral candidate?
No, I am not.
Okay. I just had a conversation with Chris Sarpong, and
Okay.
I contacted him because his name is on your contact list with regards to this upcoming mayoral debate that Global News is holding.
Yeah, it's a media contact, yes.
Yeah, and he didn't seem to be comfortable in the questions that I asked. Notwithstanding, he asked me to send him an email. I had specifically asked who makes up the editorial team that decided on how they were going to select mayoral candidates and how they came to that decision. And the email bounced back. Then I tried to send it to yours and it bounced back. So I'm wondering if there's an issue with regards to the server or some security measures that are in place. And I'm wondering...
You want to tell me what email you sent it to?
Yes, I sent it to Rishma.Govani, so Govan, well, your name, at chorusent.com.
Yeah. Are you Nicole?
I'm Dion Renée.
No, and you got a bounce back.
I did from both of your emails. Are you able to send me an email and then I can reply to it?
I'll do that right now, yeah. Shoot me your email.
So it's my city at Toronto Mail, so MyCity at Toronto Mail, MAIL.com.
Okay. Here's my contact.
Okay.
And you had ENT, right?
Yes.
ENT?
Yes.
I'm going to go to my junk just to double check.
Sure.
You sent it to both of us. That's weird. I don't see it there either. But I just sent you an email, so if you want to stand by.
Thank you.
Are you near a computer?
I am.
Okay, let's test it out and see if you get anything in the next
Little bit, yeah.
minute or two, yeah.
Yeah, oh, something just came through. Yes, it came through. So I'm going to reply to it and you let me know if you've received it. I'm just going to copy and paste pretty much.
Sure.
Okay.
And you're going to copy Chris as well?
His is in the whole email because I had forwarded it to you.
Okay.
So I'm just
I could answer, there's different people that made up, with different news leaders, right? So we have producers, we have reporters, and different people in production and stuff like that. They were less involved in the choices, but yeah, they sort of set a criteria. I think there was 6 or 7 people that were involved in that decision, which was not an easy decision, and that the body was made up of different people who play leadership roles within the team, within the news team.
So what I had asked specifically is who made up the team, and I asked, or I'll ask you, are they all white males or all white people who make up the team?
I know Sarah Nasser was on the team. She's co-hosting the debate, so she doesn't fit that profile.
Yes.
And I believe we have other women that were part of that as well.
Women of color? And I'm thankful that you're not taking offense to it, whereas Chris seemed to take offense to the specific questions I'm asking. I think you understand so well.
I know where you're coming from.
Exactly.
And I'm a woman of color.
Exactly.
So I understand that. He's a man of color, by the way.
But he is, and that's why I raised it with him. I said, why are you taking such offense to the question that I'm raising? So...
Yeah, no, I'm not offended by the question.
I hear that you're not.
It's my discomfort is that I wasn't in the room.
Yes.
So I don't want to say this person was there. What if they weren't there?
Right.
And
And that's fair.
But yeah, a lot of our leadership team is made up of white males, and that's the truth and the reality. But Farah plays a pivotal role. We have an online reporter that I think was involved as well, so she's frontline staff. She's female. I don't know her background, to be honest with you. Her name's Carrie. Just looking her up. Yeah, I feel like she's Caucasian, not certain on exact background. But Farah is a strong voice in the newsroom, for sure.
Well, I can understand.
She's an advocate, for sure.
Yeah, I can.
And diversity is very near and dear to her heart, as it is to mine. And that's why I think I'm happy to talk to you about this.
Sure. Well, I think at least, because what I was curious about is that I said, so they're picking one black candidate, right? Just to make sure it doesn't look that bad. And because I'm thinking this is so random, the people who've been picked. So I was curious as to how they came about in selecting the candidates. And Chris,
I know they needed to have a published platform. That was one of the criteria.
And my platform is published. It was actually one of the first ones published before even the people who have been in the race a lot earlier. So my
published a platform that addresses a wide range of issues. Need efforts to disseminate their platform widely to the electorate. So that's via a website, which you've done, social media accounts, attending community events. Candidates who will not use their airwaves, this is a third bullet here, to propagate hate or hurtful sentiments and the rules. And then based on this criteria, our board selected the 4 candidates we invited. So I'm sure there were other candidates who also met that, but I don't know that total deciding factor in the end.
Exactly. And that's what I want to get to the heart of, because, and quite frankly, now that I've spoken with you, because I said to Chris, I said, I record all my conversations because I am a mayoral candidate, and the way in which you're speaking to me, I find it very defensive and deflective, and you're the person listed here as the contact person for inquiries. So it shouldn't be this type of response that I'm getting from you. And he said, well, you brought race. I said, well, actually, I didn't. I just asked you a question because you were getting offended that I'm asking you specific questions as to was it made up of all white people? And I'm entitled to.
He was uncomfortable with that.
Well, that's what I indicated to him, and he said he wasn't. But long story short, I said I will publish this conversation because I made inquiry about it, and so that you can reflect back on it to see whether or not the things that you suggested I was doing is accurate or not, or whether my questions were fair. Because I indicated to him, I see that you chose the same thing I just said to you. You chose one person of color. Oh, let's just balancing it out. And I said that's what white supremacy does often to make it look like it's not skewed in a particular way. So, well, now you said white supremacy, and I'm like, what are you getting offended at? This is a fact, and it's not a swear word. I actually never use profanities. And so what is the issue here? I didn't understand the defensive position that he took on that was so strong and surprising, considering he's a black person, so he should get what I'm saying as you are. There are certain things that you don't have to explain to people of color, and yet he was coming across.
We can fast forward the conversation.
Right, we can fast forward that conversation.
We're all living the same reality.
Exactly.
That's unfortunate that conversation went so wrong, and that, a part of our job in the communications portfolio is to protect the reputation of the brand, right?
Yes.
And so that's at the core of what our job description is, right? And we want to make sure that we're representing the brand in a good light, right?
Yes.
And so one of his voices was probably, pretty strong when you were asking that stuff, right?
Well, and why I said that I was going to post it, because I literally, and you may have the same feeling, and you understand when I say it, that when it's people of color, you don't want to necessarily call them out publicly because we already know how hard it is for us. But at the same time, when they maintain systems of white supremacy, it has to be called out. And so I said, let me try your number again, just to, see if we have an even voice in all of this, reflective of the company and the voice, as you've indicated. My background is in film and television, in the arts. So anything that you speak, you have to be mindful of the audience and how it's received. So when I speak white supremacy, I'm very well aware of how some people are offended by it, but it's not my burden. It's a truth and a fact that needs to be addressed and highlighted and confronted if we're going to ever make any inroads and any necessary change and progress. So I was...
I want to, and I sincerely hope that when I take this back to the editorial team, one of the key members is not in town. He's gone on vacation abroad, and I know he was pivotal in making that decision that the candidate wasn't chosen because she was black, but it was based on merit, right?
Well, nobody's going to accept that. Right? Then nobody's going to accept that because exactly you set it up in that way for anyone looking at it, right? There's going to say, why Sarah Clemahanga there? Is it just to balance out numbers because it won't look good that it's just 3? Okay, let's do that. This is exactly the way in which, when you're strategizing, that people usually set things up in order to seem or appear to be fair and balanced. So they can't explain the structure as to how they came to the process. And it's fine that they highlight, well, this is the criteria. Well, as you've indicated, a lot of people fit that criteria. So what came down to the finalization, say, okay, we're going to go with these people. And that's where I say...
Do you know Callan is also of color?
No, I know Saran personally, yes. I'm definitely...
Yeah, Saran and... who's the other woman is the... just looking them up again just to see their pictures, if I can find pictures.
No other person who's running...
Sorry, I've interrupted,
Yeah, no other woman of color that I'm aware of that's running. Just Saran and I.
Yeah.
And I know Saran personally, and she knows me, and she knows that I'm a stronger candidate, and so does our community. The reality is that what will often be perpetuated is the mediocrity. And I'm not saying that Saran is mediocre, but she is willing to do certain things to allow positioning herself for success. And I get it. A lot of people do that, and that's their choice. I'm not that person. I'm hardcore when it comes to the fundamental act of protecting the public's rights and interests, and I don't waver for that. We have an upcoming Black mayoral debate that's coming up on October 1st, and I was invited to that, but I said very specifically to the organizers, and I wouldn't normally have this conversation with you because it was a private conversation, but then I've since published it as a result of the steps that they have taken, where I tried to raise it with them in advance and warn them about what the perception will be to the community. But the fact of the matter is that they're having a Black mayoral debate originally scheduled to have a Black town hall to amplify the voices of the Black candidates, where there are only 4 Black mayoral candidates in this election, because the media has not been doing that. And so all of a sudden, there was a change where I'm seeing that they're inviting 5 candidates, but they don't identify that. So I inquired, well, who are the 5 candidates when there are only 4 Black mayoral candidates? This doesn't make sense. And I had a suspicion of what they were doing. Until I finally verified that with them. And I said, well, how can you do that when we know that John Tory, and that's how the Black community sees him, is anti-Black, based on the history of the last 4 years of the things that he said. And even when Peter Kim, a former correspondent with Global News, asked him directly, does white privilege exist, on the date at the Jane and Finch debate when I was there standing up for the public's rights, saying what's going on here, and you're excluding the Black mayoral candidate in this election in addition to the one other guy that was involved. The problem is that sophistry continues within the establishment, and we see the media as establishment that only maintains that status quo perspective rather than actually looking at inclusive measures or inclusive and progressive candidates. So I am not participating in that Black mayoral debate as a result of, I feel, an undermining that's going on to really prop up John Tory and Jennifer Keesmaat. And it's a problem to me if we do that as a grouping of people who say we're trying to do one thing, but then do something different. If we're going to amplify the voices of the underrepresented, we're never going to get there with the people who never represent us. So when I'm calling you, it's because I wanted to inquire what your process was as to how you decided on these 4 particular people out of 35 mayoral candidates. I understand the criteria of where you're going to exclude hate. I agree with that 100%. But if you're saying that I may have been excluded because I call it white supremacy, I'd like to be told that. This is why I'm calling, because I'd like to be told, oh, well, we think talking about white supremacy is hate propaganda. Please tell me that, because I would love to have that be told to me. Because otherwise, why wasn't I invited?
Right.
You mentioned the key person who is away. Who is that?
His name is Mackay Taggart. He's the news director for Global News, Toronto. Yeah, so he was integral in putting this together. He's a key leader. He's good guy, good director, for sure. And so, I'd love for his voice to be part of this discussion or the conversation. If we want to, call you back next week and be able to give you more than you've gotten so far in terms of an explanation.
I would appreciate that. And did you receive my email?
The email is still... no, I'm still not getting it.
It didn't bounce back this time. Oh, yes, it did. Even though I replied to your email. Yeah, I replied to your email and it bounced back.
My city at Toronto. Oh, well, you've received mine, so that's not an issue.
You know what it says, Rishma? It says that message size exceeds capabilities responsible for the recipient. Do you have a small message box? That wouldn't make sense.
No, we have a large. We exchange large files all the time.
Exactly.
Do you have a lot of attachments or something?
Well, I just have my 11.
Video?
I just have my 11 attachments, but I can send them to other people who have like a Gmail account. So it should go with. You know what I mean? Yeah. My attachments go out with all my emails. It's part of my platform.
Yeah, I can't explain why it's not going through because.
Do you have an alternative email account so that I can send it to you?
You can send it to my personal one, and then I'll try to forward it on to my work one.
Okay, let me send it to you. I'm just going to forward it. Forward. And by the way, it was just a copy of paste when I was originally sending it to you where it bounced back, so I didn't acknowledge that we were on a conversation or anything of that sort. It was prior to me speaking with you, so I just copied and pasted that. And this email...
give me your last name, Dion?
Yes, it's Renee. So R-E-N-E with an accent aigu, and then another A.
Dion Renee, right?
That's correct. But the point is that this information is on the Toronto Elections website. So if they didn't have my name, I would have a problem why they wouldn't.
They did. I just needed I'm not on the website, so I don't have all the candidates.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I'm just highlighting that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the email that you want me to forward it to?
We can, the only one, let's try all.
Okay, I've just sent it. Because, what we will always have, Rishma, is mediocre, publicized events that don't come to the heart of the real issues facing Torontonians. And we will never get there by amplifying the voice of those who are not already there. And this is the problem for society. It's the maintenance or the maintaining of mediocrity. None of which has a connection to community and in advancing community wellness, which is my platform. My platform is community wellness and inclusion, because that is what's fundamental to our wellness as a society and as people living within society.
Right. And are you aware of the other debates happening? I think there was one within the arts community on Monday. Was that open to all the candidates as well?
No, it wasn't, and I haven't heard back from anyone in that. And it's actually hard to get a hold of anyone from there. The only other one was the TTC Writers debate, and I'm sure you're familiar with all the politics that goes on. Yes, no?
Yes,
okay.
No, yeah.
So, with regards to the politics, it is the same thing, and again, it's the sophistry that goes on to maintain mediocrity that really affects us. And yes, I've had a conversation with TTC writers. I've also indicated to them that I will send them something in writing that I want them to read, which they've agreed to do. Read at the event, because they're so apologetic. Oh, we're so sorry we didn't do this and we didn't, and this is the same rhetoric that is spewed, and it's not helpful, again, to anyone in society. And the irony of it all is that I was part of TTC Writers Accessibility Committee. And we've raised it even with them, where a lot of the people that were part of the Accessibility Committee, who are also part of the Toronto Disability Pride March, which takes place on Saturday, so that's tomorrow, at Queen's Park, actually stepped back, took our names out of it, because we recognized that, again, the people from the disabilities community were being used as props to advance the organization's position rather than actually advance accessibility and the issues that are being confronted by society. So it is the same thing that happens when they do that, because there's an undermining that has been going on. You've probably heard all the backroom deals happening with regards to NDP party and Liberal Party shaking hands and saying we're going to prop up Jennifer Keesmaat and let's support her. And so there's that undermining that goes on. TTC Writers is a very pro-NDP party organization. I'm nonpartisan, so I don't care about that, because I believe it's also partisanship that affects the way in which we are able to advance as a society. People focused on party politics rather than the people's needs. So there's all that history behind that. I've raised that with them. I've had one person, in fact, the chair, say to me, if they don't change their policy, he will step down as a result of the tricks of how they coming to the decision that they made. So we'll see if that happens. But, I do call out people for failing the public when they claim that is their interest and get caught up with politics. That we don't have time for that. Our lives are at stake here. And it literally is a life or death situation for many people. The ability to live and thrive is fundamental to society's wellness and to its progress. And if individuals are constantly feeling that they don't have that opportunity to be heard, they don't have the opportunity to have their issues and concerns raised and effectively raised and addressed, then why are we surprised when people say that they're not going to vote or don't see hope? Why are we surprised then? When we, and not including me, when society engages in co-siding the mediocrity, right? It's all a game to some people, but this is really people's lives that we're dealing with here. And it frustrates myself and many people in community who are advocates who see this and we're just tired of it. And if they let the progressive voices that are actually there be heard, like you have no truly progressive a candidate that's a part of that upcoming debate. Someone who holds wholeheartedly progressive and innovative views. And if they actually researched and reviewed my platform, they would see that I use YouTube as my medium for sharing my information because it's an inclusive mode. It allows closed captioning and audio to be used. Not all websites are inclusive. And so because it's a medium that is easily accessible to everyone without some difficulty, then I use that to share my platform. And people have been reviewing it that way and accessing the information. the sadness that I keep hearing when I'm knocking on people's doors, and I have some challenges in knocking on doors because of my disabilities where I can't climb stairs. So I'm limited to the number of doors I can even knock on as a result. And when I'm meeting individuals and them saying to me, why aren't we seeing you on the news? Like, your points are exactly what we need for the city. I say, because of the mediocrity, because of the establishment maintaining the status quo. So when my 96-year-old friend who is looking forward to the day that the city becomes what it should be and why we've never had a black mayoral candidate in the history of Toronto, when she says to me, why am I not seeing you on the news, I have to keep telling her the same thing over and over again. But then I have to also follow up when I see something that the news is doing, such as having a, quote, debate, a mayoral debate at that, and that they've never even asked me to participate. I have to follow up with those things, because I can't say that I did something when I didn't do it if I didn't follow up to find out how they came to determine what they determined. Their Rubik's Cube, if you will, of decision making. Did you get the email, Rishma?
I got the email.
Perfect.
On my hotmail. It was, there's a lot of files and...
Yeah, just 11 attachments. I've been sending it to everyone, so when there's a...
And I don't know... And now I've tried to forward it to myself.
Yes.
On my work account, because that's where it needs to live. But I haven't. It's not.
So your email is not going to your work account?
Well, your forward. Yeah, your email is not going.
But it's your forward, though, because it comes from your email, right?
I know, but I'm just thinking maybe there's a corrupt file or something else that's, prohibiting it from getting to this server.
Well,
and send myself another email from myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for your efforts, sister. I appreciate that. And this is exactly the way we get things done, by people actually making those efforts to be inclusive.
Yeah. And I hate to cut you off, but I actually am late for 2:30.
I thank you for your time.
And I got the email and happy to, okay. I forwarded another email from my Hotmail to my work account, and that came right through, and the other one is stuck. I don't know what it is. So not sure what is prohibiting it. There must be something that...
Well, being mindful of your time, may I suggest two things?
Can we,
just to
continue the conversation next week when Makai is back?
Absolutely, because I was going to say you could print it out, but you can also find it online on my YouTube account, which the link is online. Okay? All right.
And then did you publish the conversation between yourself and Chris?
No, I said to you, because of my conversation with you, I now don't see the need to, because I've gotten an answer. It's where I don't get answers when I publish to the public, well, look, we made inquiry and this is the result. Everything I do is transparent. I don't see the need to do that now because you and I are in a conversation. I'm actually getting answers, and that's sufficient. I'm not malicious. I just want answers so we can inform the public. That's it. So no, I don't need to publish that now.
Okay. I'm sorry the first time didn't go so well, and I hope that you know that I've listened to you and that I am going to pass on your feedback, and that there will be a follow-up conversation. If you want to call me next week and we get Makai in the room as well to talk about things that would maybe be...
Well, when is Makai going to be in the room?
I think he's back Wednesday.
Well, isn't this the day that you're having the event?
Tuesday evening is the debate. He's actually not going to be here. He had a prior commitment to when this actually came into...
so my concern of calling after the fact really defeats the purpose of why I'm calling.
Before, okay, you know what? Let me talk to someone else who's holding down the fort to see if we can figure something out.
Great. Thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing back to you. Will you be calling me back today then?
If I can Yeah, if I can try to track someone down.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Rishma.
Monday. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay.
Be well.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.